Ready time?
Let's see. Because I've been here since 4 in here, and it's now 4, so I've been here 12 hours waiting.
Just waiting?
Yeah.
So you've been sitting right there
Yeah, for 12 hours.
12 hours straight. You never moved?
Yeah, look at your phone. You'll see when I messaged you and said, "Are you ready?"
But
That was at 4 a.m. this morning.
but you weren't grabbing a dead possum a few minutes ago?
Well, I've washed my hands since then.
Are you sure?
Well, we know what all the vultures were after now.
Yeah, we do.
I've never seen vultures here before.
Not that many. I've never seen that many in one place.
I don't feed him possums. I don't know where he got the possum from. He eats rabbits and chickens, but that was a big possum, and he ate half of it, and it stank. So when I went out yesterday looking, I would assume that he had it hidden in the wood pile or something. And people are like, "Oh, wood pile." No, you don't understand. The wood pile, it's a pile of rotting wood that's probably bigger than the house that you live in. All right, you ready to build this thing?
Yeah, what are we building?
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Who do you think I am? So I made one of these a few years ago. We put them up and sold, I don't know, 100 of them or so. And I built one yesterday just to make sure, because I wanted to make some improvements to the pattern. So I built one yesterday, but I'm still not real clear as the best sequencing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pieces that I know what they are, and we're going to use the process of elimination here to start with, is what we're going to do. So the way I'm going to build this is I'm going to just sew this piece of pack cloth for 400. They call it 400. It used to always be called 420 pack cloth, and I don't know where the change was. It seems to be the same product. See how that's bunching up? Something has happened that the sewing machine does not like, and it's going to be something in the bobbin. Yes, there it is. So
Take two.
take 2 bobbins.
Take 2 bobbins.
I have 2 bobbins.
Make sure you have 4 bobbins always.
You
An extra
could,
bobbin for extra bobbin.
but if you just get in the habit of putting your empty bobbin on the winder when you change, it will wind. That's why I always hear the girls running the machines wide open, and I look and they're winding a bobbin. I'm like, you might not know this, but it will wind while you sew. So I'm just going to sew this together back to back, meaning raw edges towards the inside, or raw side, coated side, whatever you want to call it. And we built these a few different ways, but the easiest way to build this, we're going to hide all the raw seams to the inside, and we're going to take these raw edges and we're just going to hem them over very small. Might want to run that slow motion so you can see it.
Slow that down
Probably have
so I
to.
can see the flames.
Why we're doing it will make sense in a few minutes, how we're putting this together. Or maybe it won't make sense to you, but it makes sense to me. This is our foam insulation. You can use whatever you want. They've got all kinds of foam. This is what we use. You could double it up if you wanted to make it more insulated. You could buy super expensive foil-backed insulation. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got stuff that's covered in a white type plastic that you would actually use that would actually be the inside. Now, rather than try to fight this, actually I can do it. I'm just gonna hem it over just like so. Catch that all. One. Years ago when I built these, the first few I made, I actually made the pack cloth inside about a 1/2 inch smaller around the edge, less than the Cordura, and then folded the Cordura over. But the stuff's thin, it's totally easy just to sew it and catch all of it at once, and it's one less pattern you have to make. So there's that right there. These here I'm going to kind of do the same thing with, but a little different, and you'll see what I mean. I'm going to put these together back to back, face to face, like this. Because these are the sides and they'll totally be exposed, and I just want a cleaner seam than a raw edge folded under. This raw edge here folded over, right? We're going to sew something on here that'll conceal this, and you won't see this or any of this here. It'll be in the seam very tight, whereas this is standing right out in the open proud. Sew these edges here, and I'm not going to do the bottom yet because we're going to put foam in here also. And favorite screwdriver. And because I hate cutting thread and having to pull that through and have that few inches of thread, when you sew a lot, that few inches adds up when you do it 1,000 times a day. I don't know how much thread is on one of these cones, but we had a girl work for us, and she was going to prison, of all places. So we picked up her sewing machine from her house and took it to my old shop. And she had a cone of thread on her machine, and we drove from her house to the old shop, which was over a mile away. And when we got to the shop, that thread had unwound, and we actually followed it to see how far, and it went every bit of the way all the way back to her house. And it was like, it's over a mile. So there's over a mile of thread on here. I don't know how much thread's on these, but it's well over a mile of thread. I would suspect it's a lot more than a mile. Throw it in notes if you can figure out how much is on there. Because they do it by pounds. Like this is a pound of thread. But when you order it, you always get a few cones that are like clearly smaller than a pound. So I don't know. Okay, there's that. Insulation. Why is he saying it like that? Why am I saying what way?
Thunk it.
Thunk it? Who'd have thought it? It's marshmallows. It's my safe word.
Do you eat them?
It's my safe word.
Oh.
Like whiskey. This is my green tea. Is that loud? Sounds loud. I think I'm going to start wearing a helmet when I sew.
Like a motocross helmet? Like full
No,
visor?
no, like a base helmet. carbon fiber. Probably start wearing thermals.
I would think so.
I would think so. Cool points. See how it always catches and just sits there and spins? Something with this foot. You would think after complaining about it for 4 or 5 years, I'd put a new foot on here, but
Nope.
what would we have to talk about? When you're at my funeral, you can be like, he never did change that presser foot.
I'll bury you. I'll make them sew the lining of your casket all cattywampus.
Cattywomp. I'll have Derek tattoo a big presser foot right there.
I've been for
I'm reaching out to Juki. I'm like, I'll get a full Juki back tattoo, but you have to sponsor all of our sew classes. Okay, so there's the sides. And there, you can see how clean that is. Right, the seams inside, and then we folded it over and hemmed it nice and clean, as opposed to this. This is fine because we're going to bury it in the bottom and the side, so you're never going to see it. This piece you are going to see, so I want it a little bit cleaner, and that is what has happened there.
I expect your rough edges are just as clean as most people's clean edges, right?
Yeah, only because,
Because perfection?
well, I mean, I am perfect, but only because they just haven't done it enough. Like if they do it, they'll get it. And I do watch. I say kids, and I don't. When I say kid to a 20-year-old person, he thinks I'm talking about a 5-year-old. And when I say kid to a 30-year-old, he probably thinks, that I'm talking about a 12-year-old or whatever. But when I say kid, I guess I realized that the other day. I'm like, kid. I'm like, holy shit, that guy's 35. He's got kids that are almost grown, right? I had kids when I was like 19, so. Younger people, it's just repetition, man. But I do see guys that are new to sewing, like have been doing it a year or two, and their shit's ridiculously clean. Like the Camel Chops guy, and there's another dude I follow. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I know I communicate with you, but there's some dudes out there on Instagram that are just doing amazing. Like I don't think they realize how good they are. Like I tell them, and some of them are like, yeah, fuck that guy, whatever. But some of them are like, man, that means a lot. And they're really, really good. There's some good craftsmen out there. A lot of skill. So I'm going to sew through this foam here, which will also lock it in place. And then it's really going to tighten it up when we sew this piece on here. Now when you're sewing through there, it's kind of spongy, so it doesn't want to just pull it well, especially in reverse, right? So I'm kind of helping it go in reverse. Now I'm going to conceal that. This actually doesn't really bear any real weight. We're just sewing this on here because we're going to sew set it up where you put a shoulder strap on. Have we figured out what this is yet? And you can scale this, right? You could build this. People look at, like we have over 14,000 part numbers just in belts when you add up the sizing and color combos. That's just in base color of coyote or black. When we started adding contrast thread, we couldn't actually add the part numbers. We had to add it as an add-on. So you order our belt, say black on black EDC belt 32, and then we have it available with Velcro or without Velcro. We couldn't add the contrast color because when we went to start doing that, we already had 14,000 part numbers. So we had to add it as another item. So you order, for instance, black on black EDC 32 inch. And then you want red thread, you just add, as a second item, you add contrasting color thread, which is it's only a $10 upcharge, which it's really twice the sewing to make the belt. It should cost more. But people have this perception that we make all these products, but where I was going with that is a lot of the products we make, while there are 100 pouches with a zipper that are kind of rectangular square, they're really the same pouch. We just have like different attachments or pals or Velcro. My point is, if you can build one, you can build most. And you could take this bag, change the shape, size, or dimension, and if you can sew one, you can do any of them with very basic math. Do we know what this is yet? What do you think this is? You know what it is, don't you?
No.
This is the first time you've shown up here and I actually knew what we were going to build. I told you last night what it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what it is.
Like usually when we're filming this video, Randall shows up here at about 10 a.m. We do a couple hours of podcast, which we did today. And then we went outside and Scully had a M1 Grand with him. It'll cut off in a second. It must be really empty. That's a quiet one too. That's a dual, it's a dual piston compressor, I think he said. There it goes. So we did a podcast today for a couple hours. Scully brought an M1 Grand. We just built a bunch of M1 Grand chest rigs. We've got a couple more batches, other colors. So we just filmed that, and he shot some while he was here, and we just did some B-roll with it. So now we're actually here building this. But typically when you see one of these videos, when we start filming it, we didn't know what we were going to build 10 minutes earlier.
There's been times where we've set up to film it and then be like,
oh shit, we don't have,
We gotta
what are we
cut
making?
something.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and do the process of elimination. I'm gonna show you how to do a shoulder strap here, which will go here. This is a cool piece. It's plastic, some guys won't like it. We've put them on all kinds of bags for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. There are some cooler ones. ITW makes some that are just badass, but they're difficult to get a hold of. These ones are National Molding right here. It's got a spring-loaded gate. It's pretty cool. They do make some through ITW that are fully wire inside the mold, but I haven't seen them in years. We tried getting them. They proved to be kind of hard to source, so we've been using these for years now. Anyways, you're going to first put on, I think I'm going to put on, here it is, Tri-Glide. This is the part that's going to adjust. I put mine in the center here. I typically take my raw edges and conceal them by folding them under. Now, this has contrasting thread in it, so you're definitely going to see it here. And I'm just going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. And I'm going to zigzag over. You can cut yours and do 2 clean separate lines. Or you could sew it around, do a box X. You can do whatever you want. You're really not going to see this though. And I hate cutting thread and pulling it out, so I'm just going to zigzag over, which is how we do a lot of our Velcro and stuff too, or just a box. Now, a lot of guys will see box X stuff when they start sewing, and they will emulate that because they saw it on their favorite gear company. When the truth is, the favorite gear company is doing it because they have a programmable tacker, and it was one of the programs in there, and it looked neat. It definitely does not need an X in the middle of 1 inch by 1 inch Velcro or 1 inch by 2 inch Velcro. But they do it because they think they're supposed to do it. Most people doing a lot of things have no idea why they're doing it. So I'm going to take this here. First I'm going to build these out. And what these are is these keep, like when you go to pick up your shoulder strap, right? You pick it up and it's separate pieces of webbing and it goes everywhere and you end up with one. I build these and this goes on there, but I do mine a little different. These are not just elastic tubes that I stick my elastic through. These are elastic. So this is 1.5 inch shoulder strap, but these are 5 inches wide. Well, they're actually a little more than 5, probably 5.5, folded in half. And the reason I do these, as it will make sense in a second why I do them so long. So I'm going to take that, take this right on the bite, make my mark, and then duplicate that mark, right? A lot of guys will take and measure 100 pieces of something. You don't need to measure one. Make your master, and just transfer that onto all your others when you're doing them. So I'm going to sew this here. I sewed that one more than the first one. The first one is just to hold those tails together, and you'll see in a second. And when I sewed that one, I went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whereas this one I went 1, 2, 3. Doesn't fucking matter. Do it how you want to do it. So I'm going to take this here. Turn this off, and I'm going to flip this inside out. And you could make it where this side's sewn into this side. You don't need to. You'll see here in a second what we're going to do. But you could. You could be badass and do 2 of them, 2 separate pieces, and make it so they're sewn on the edges. But we don't need that. What this does here, and I've not seen anybody do shoulder straps like these. So I'm going to take this, and now this is divided right here. I'm going to put this through here, and you can make them tighter and then just kind of fold them like that, and push it through like that, and then pop them out into there. So there's that. Now I'm going to run through my piece there, and I'm going to run this one through the top, whereas the other one's through the bottom. So that piece just kind of like is in between them, and it keeps this together. So when I go to grab these, it just keeps those pieces from flopping around when they're not under weight or tension. It's just a little bit of attention to detail, just a little bit extra. Usually, a lot of times when you go and you have a meal, and you have a good meal, the difference between a good meal and a great meal is literally 1% more effort, or even 1 minute of timing for presentation to the table. Chef Josh Winnie. And then here, we're gonna expose this. Now, I do mine on the top. You could totally do yours so it's on the bottom. It's just however you want to do it, right? Concealed raw edge, inside, tucked under. So I'm going through 3 pieces of material. And here, you can zigzag over or box X or do whatever you want. Lately, I've been doing them like this. I just think it looks kind of clean, especially the contrast. And the leading edge is the one that actually bears the weight, you know, or the brunt. That's that one. This one here is just a backup, and it holds that from flopping around. You'll see I cut everything with scissors. That's how I did it. I didn't know nippers existed for the first 10 years. But if you get in the habit of using nippers to cut, you won't be doing so much of this all the time, and you will develop carpal tunnel. With the nippers, it will definitely help slow that down.
My stepmom has a bunch of those in her house.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
yeah, and buy the good ones. Buy the Eastman ones. You can get them. They're like $20 if you buy one, but if you buy dozens of them, the prices go down, but it's worth it. And the metal ones, you can resharpen them. So there's the shoulder strap, and you can move these to be wherever you want them in there, clean. Right now we're just eliminating parts. Let's get rid of, okay, we've done those. I'm going to do this 3 inches down, and right now I'm just finding center. I'm going to mirror it on the other side. I think our production model only has Velcro on one side. Now, like this is 9 1/4, right? We need center. You don't have to math that. Just slide that motherfucker over so it's right in the middle. So you got the same amount on both sides, so it's 9, right? Find the center right there. I know it's 3 inches down, right? Oh my gosh, John, you got that extra mark. If you rub that on your jeans or your pants, that mark will come off of there. We used to get guys who'd cry. They're like, it has colored pen, it has a crayon all over it. No, it doesn't. Ooh, I didn't catch that seam there. Let's clean that up. Which is an example of why you might sew it first and then hem it. Because had I done that, I wouldn't be fighting this right here. And this is 500 Cordura where I'm about to cut this stitching out. You got a good chance when you do this that you blow through that material, and if you did, this would completely be shot. You'd have that material sliced, and there's not, I mean, I guess you could hem it down and then stretch it into place because the project would be, you know, a little bit shorter at that point, but just take your time. Guys use seam rippers, probably better if you're learning to do this. I didn't know a seam ripper existed until years after I was already doing this, so I always use the razor blade. And if you do cut yourself, it's always on the fingers or hands, and it's oftentimes sutures, so you're out of work for a while, so be aware of that. Pull the thread out, unlike what I'm showing you here. That way it doesn't get caught up in there. Chances are high that I didn't catch it again. Yeah, that actually worked.
Years ago, before there were all these companies that just made black shirts, Walmart sold black shirts with pockets on them. So I would buy them and I'd take a seam ripper and I would take all the pockets off and pull the stitching out.
Would you see the holes?
No. They were perfect.
So we know that's where I need to put this. Rather than measuring this and doing that, I just fold it in half, crease it, set it there, and then eyeball it. And if you're not comfortable or you need it to be super more precise, after doing this 4 billion times, I can see if it's straight or not. But you could make 2 marks and then, you know, line it up if you need to. And I'm sewing this with tan thread so you can see the contrast, so you can see what, not really, I'm just lazy, I don't want to change the thread. See the air in there.
So it's so tight.
That it's airtight. And actually it is, like, the air will push out through the stitches, but I mean it is pretty airtight. Okay, there's that. Now, let's check that. That's right about 12. That's also right about 12. It's like 12 and an eighth, maybe, ish. If you're using colored pencils, I use a razor blade to sharpen them. You can totally use a pencil sharpener. The pencil sharpener makes it a lot sharper and it breaks it. And if I just use a razor blade, it lasts a lot longer. Colored pencils, if that's what you're using, you can use Taylor chalk, use whatever you use whatever your best friend told you to use, or your mom, or whoever. And if you're doing this whenever you're measuring inches and it doesn't fit, try it in centimeters. You might get it to, yeah, so 13, right? So I don't have to deal with quarter. So 13 centimeters, so 6.5, right? 6.5, 13, 6.5, 13, connect your dots. Like so. So your colored pencils, if you're using colored pencils and you're looking around at craft stores and stuff, you're going to see two prominent brands. You're going to see Crayola, you're going to see Rosart. Rosart costs considerably less. It's because it's shit. When you sharpen it, the lead breaks. It's like a harder lead maybe. Pay the extra, get the Crayola pencils. They'll last 3 times longer. Same thing with lighters. When you use a lighter, if this is how you're burning your stuff, Bic lighter, you can buy cheaper lighters. The Bic lighters last longer, they work better. I'm telling you this as somebody who's tried everything out there over the last 35 years, and we have always gone back to these 2 products. So those lines right there, we're gonna even this out as close as you can get it. We're gonna go ahead and stitch 2 lines down here. What that's going to do is when you stand this bag up, it's going to help it to actually stand there in place. You'll see in a minute. This will push all this material. I'm holding it as I go, as well as holding the foam in place, which will be insulation. You can start from the side, just make sure you hold it in place because it will walk too far one way if you're concerned with it. Or this is your first few bags, just strike it, needle strike in the middle, walk one way, turn it around, walk the other, and then come back or whatever. A little off right there. All right. Remember that raw edge I said? It's going to be buried. You're never going to see that thing when it stands up and that foam puffs out. I'll go ahead and bury this, put this one on here while I'm here. I'm holding this. Just busted thread. Holding it in place as I sew so that I don't have work shift. For a long time, come around here for a second. For a long time, I didn't know I would route this thread through this hole through here. You can actually do this, right? Also, on a lot of machines, if you have a machine that you've used for a long time, or you have a used machine, a lot of places, when you buy a used machine, they don't fix all this stuff, right? Like this is felt. I don't know what they call it. You can use felt. You can take material. If you have this in here, it actually helps a lot, and it actually helps contain the backlash. It doesn't. It just makes your machine work better. But those thread keepers, you can actually just run it right through. You don't have to thread. I spent years and years threading those through those holes. I would think that with the internet now everybody knows, but every time I say something like that, there's a couple dudes that are like, oh man, I didn't know that. That's such a time saver. So I assume, because I didn't know it for 20 years, I assume there's other people also that don't know it. So when you buy a used machine, a lot of times there are little pieces and little things missing, and you don't even know they're missing. But we've been using Collier equipment out of Alabama, and they're awesome. And the machines come with everything. Like when they go through a machine, they refurbish that thing to brand new. We were using Nick Oso for a long time. I'm actually friends with Nick, but I don't know that he's doing business anymore. I'm not sure what's up. So Collier is who we've been using for a few years. Great guys, family-owned business. Okay, I'm going to take this piece and pull it up here. And it has to line up at the top. So we're going to go ahead and needle strike that. And what I mean by that is we're going to drive that needle in there. And that's a chunk of material. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's pretty tight right here, and then I'm going through another piece, so I've got 12 layers of material right there I'm sewing through, and I'm going to just kind of go slow for those first couple stitches. I want to make sure they're locked in, and I don't want to have the work shift, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it from the bottom on both top and bottom, kind of stretch it in, make sure it fits, and now I'm going to take my favorite little screwdriver, hold those in place, catching on that burr or whatever's on the foot there. And I just want to make sure they're lined up top and bottom. And we're doing this as though it's like 1 inch or 2 inches of work at a time. This is the part of work that your customer is going to see. And I want it to look good. You can conceal a lot, but this part they will see. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. See how this is pretty even all through here? See right here where this piece sticks out about 1/8 of an inch? I should have pulled on this one more. So that's why we're doing that. Now, you can do both these sides on the same side, or we can do the same side on the opposite side, if that makes sense to you. It's just whether you want to fight this way or you want to fight this way. You'll see what I mean. It really doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter.
Either way, you're in a fight.
Yeah. I think I'm going to start this one in about the middle. Make sure we line up at the top here. When I'm cutting these, I'm cutting them, I'm holding the thread and then pulling the work so that the scissors are way against the material. You don't have a lot to clean up afterwards. You don't have a lot of threads you got to burn or anything. a lot easier for you guys too. We're here filming in the dark. I just got these, I've got some overhead light, but I normally have a lot more light.
Training you to be better so you can sew in the dark.
Well, you have to, so you can do ninja stuff. So by dividing that into 3, it pulled evenly in 3 sections rather than pushing it all. Now I'm all lined up down at the bottom, I'm all lined up at the top, whereas the other side, I'm kicked out here. Chances are, if I didn't point it out, nobody would ever see it. And if I sent this to somebody who didn't see the video, they also wouldn't see it. And if you guessed this bag is to transport my Siamese fighting fish in, you are absolutely correct. That is what this is.
It's the only reason you make any bag, right?
That's right. I'm pretty confident that we could build the exact same product for like tactical gear, tactical stuff, and market it and make a lot more money marketing the exact same thing to a different application to the pet industry.
Make these to transport organs.
Maybe, yeah. We know a guy that does some of that. We could sell $5,000 covers for his machines.
Make him tell all the places that he has to have the cover in order to keep the things working.
That's right.
Same as the military.
Packaging and presentation. Somebody, we were having a conversation last night with somebody about taxidermy, and they're like, do you crate those up to ship them? And I'm like, no, not the giraffes. We just ship them in big trailers. But when we do get stuff in crates, the crates are almost more impressive than the items in the crates.
Yeah.
The way they build the packing crates and stuff is pretty cool.
You know, I think we should do a series where we buy one of those, like, 3 different really crappy sewing machines, give you material, and see what you can make, if you can make the same items.
With a shitty sewing machine?
Yeah, like a hand sewer, one of those ones with a wand.
Oh, shit, no.
I know,
I think we would destroy
see.
that. Like the plastic ones? Yeah, I think you'd tear those, because it's all plastic, and then all the internals and the guts in it are plastic, so when you slip it or something happens, man, it's done for. Okay, so it's an insulated bag. It's a cooler bag. If you fill it with water, it will leak, so you cannot just pour ice in here. When it melts, it will eventually piss through your seams. But that's not what it's for. It's more of a lunch bag. You could put like some gel ice packs or something in there, and it would keep it cool. Now, We're gonna see how this goes. I had this down. We built a lot of these. Well, we built 100 or so of these probably, but I can't remember how I had done it. So last night messing around with this. This was the really the part. This probably took longer to do this piece than the rest of the bag took. I don't know why I'm marking those like that. I don't need it. Now when you do your hems, you can mark it at 1 inch, which is the bite where it folds, or you can mark it at 2 inch, which might be easier for you because that's what you're going to fold to. We're going to put this edge on that line. Hold this down. Just run it. Now, because I hate cutting thread and pulling thread, I'm just going to run this right into there. Instead of having to do that, it's still attached. I'm just going to clip this off of here. Just run it right into the next piece. Make sense? Have you ever sewed?
Once.
Anything like this?
Pants.
So I wonder, having watched 20 of these videos now, having filmed them,
yeah,
I wonder,
editing, because I rewatched them like
a bunch of times. I wonder how you would do if we actually put you on a machine.
I think it's more about learning the pull of it.
Yeah, there's a lot, because you can stretch the material. You can come out all, what's that word? Cattywampus.
Yeah, I don't want to cattywampus things, but I do feel like I have a good understanding at this point about just the wording and what I think that means. You know, leaving the needle in the work, so it's like a third arm, making sure it's in the down position when you're turning something.
Yeah, that's a big one, having that third hand.
Also, there's weird little small steps like making sure to clean up as you're going. That saves a million hours afterward.
It really does, especially if you're doing your own cleanup work, right? Like we've got a dude, sometimes 2 dudes, sometimes 3 dudes, sometimes I'm the dude, standing at the table clipping all the threads and stuff from all the work that the girls put up there. The ladies.
I've seen some days they're non-stop, just like 2 guys.
It really is, yeah.
Non-stop clipping and burning, and I'm like, that seems...
Our dude in there right now is pretty good on the table, and it's overwhelming for him sometimes. Man, I do not know the best way to do this. So, we can sew them back to back like this, and then fold them and they'll both be even. Or, is it faster for you to just go ahead and hem it? Like that first. And hope that these are close enough. They will be, size-wise. That tail got caught there. Before it's all boogered up, I'll go ahead and fix it. Rip that tail off. So we'll show you both ways. I don't know what you call it. I call them zipper lips. So, see, I just pulled that through. Did that because the little tensioner thing here doesn't work. There's always a part on your sewing machine that's broken, and you just don't know that it's broken. You just, especially if it's your first machine, you just think that's how they are. Oop, not enough. I need more to tuck in and conceal here.
pull the work and press in with the razor blade onto the thread.
Yeah, for real, yeah. Have I said that before?
Yeah.
I want it as close as I can get it, so it's super clean. But it still has to be far enough away that when the zipper slider goes through there, it's not catching on that bulk of the material. I'm going to leave about an inch of that sewn open there, not sewn, because I'm going to take this zipper, you'll see in a minute, and tuck it in. I'm basically making a pocket here, so I'm going to show you both ways that you can do this. So there's that. Now I want this to completely line up with this one. So do you do it from the top? You really can't. You're going to do it from here. And if I didn't get my hems the same, this isn't, if I line it up here, it's not quite going to work, but close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this in right here, I guess. That's where I'll start. Now this piece is thinner than the other piece, so when you're sewing this on, don't crank on this, because if you do, you'll end up with an extra ½ inch. So I'm just kind of baby bites, couple inches at a time, looking cognizant of where this lands, because I want them to the same length, and I think that I have achieved that pretty well. We'll see what it looks like from the other side. Looks pretty good. You can see I came off that stitch line there, but we could really top sew it and then cut that one out, stitch at a time with a razor blade, or nick it and then pull it out with these little screwdrivers. If I use a screwdriver, you could use a thread nipper, you can use all kinds of things to pull stitches out. If you take one of these screwdrivers and you just sharpen one of the edges a little bit, you can really pull these out one at a time easily. So there's that. Now I'm going to make this a pocket here. I'm not going to sew right there. I don't want to lock that zipper in. I'm just going to kind of grab it past the zipper. I'm going to rip down here. Make sure this is lined up. It's not quite, so I'm going to kind of like push it back, and it's just a little pillowed here. You'll never know it. So there's that. And I left this open because what I'm going to do here, not yet, I don't want to separate this zipper yet. I want to have it right here so I can mirror this, but I'm going to separate this. I'm going to take this leg of the zipper and I'm going to put it inside here and sew this closed. You're never going to see it. It's going to look very clean. Now the other way to do this is to do it this way. And I will show you what we're going to do here. Back to back, yes. So both faces are back to back. I'm going to go ahead and catch this right here. I'm going to line this up a few inches at a time. Don't pull on this because you'll end up with it stretched longer than the other side. Pretty good. I'm going to pillow it back a little bit, feed it just a little bit there. And yeah, actually went a little too far, but this will still work. So what I'm going to do here now, because this is you can get different feet. You can get a zipper foot. This is a very skinny foot on the inside, wide on the outside. Now I'm going to sew it here, just right along that zipper. I still want that pocket open. And it's just traveling right along that zipper. And what that's going to do is going to be very clean, cleaner than the opposing side that I did prior to this. And I'm going to take it like this. And because they're the same now, I'm going to zip this. So I'm a little bit longer, it's stretched a little, but now I'm going to pull right here. look how much cleaner that came out. This side, as opposed to this side. Clean. So, which way do we want this to open and close? I want it to open this way, so I'm going to split this zipper right here. I'm going to get this buried in here. I'm going to pull it back, get it nice and right there. Now it's right where I want it. Now I'm going to go ahead and split these. I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them right inside here. Make sure that these are in line. And I'm traveling up on the zipper, so it's changing my tension for sure. Just go slow. Run across there, tack it in, come right in, meet that line, tack that in, and that's how that's going to go. Now, I could have made it another tooth, one tooth or two teeth of the zipper further, but it's not going to matter as long as these look the same. They're going to be right next to each other when they're zipped, so you want them to be as identical as you can get them. Now, if you're learning to do this and you can't do it, don't trip too bad. I also just put my zipper on backwards. So, good news. I can change it. It'll work the other way had I put it on. So, let's get this in here. Right there. Travel out of there. I've still got this little gap right here. Tie it in right here. We're going to travel across this gently. Ta-da! There we go. Let's see what it looks like when we zip it. It's not totally even, but it'll work. It's close enough. Okay.
Even enough.
For government work?
Mm-hmm. Mil spec.
Yeah. Yeah. Means usually lowest bidder. People have this idea that mil spec is the gold standard. Pretty close.
Process of elimination.
That's right. So this thing here is just the tail. It's going to conceal the zipper. You can do all kinds of stuff. You could totally take this sucker and fold it up and tack it and put a nice piece of heat shrink. You could do all kinds of shit. This is what I'm going to do though. You could totally take this piece right here. I'm going to make a tail that is 2 inches by like 3 inches. So this piece of material here is actually 4. The reason I did that, you could make it smaller and make your hem small. I cut it so that I just know that this edge meets this edge. Takes a little more material, especially if you're doing a lot of them. Something big. But time is money, and if you can just take that and fold it in to roughly the center, it doesn't even have to be center because it's concealed, you'll never see it. And I'm going to take this, hem these here, and put that there, sew them, make a pocket. I'm going to tuck that zipper in that pocket, and I'm going to clean it. It's going to give it a contrast, it's going to give it this tail right here, which gives you the camo pattern right there. You can do yours however you want. This is how I'm doing this one. So, let's go ahead and zip that down. Now normally I'd be doing a bunch of these so I wouldn't have to cut it. See, even though I cut it, I still have to pull this thread out more because it'll suck it back up through the machine. Maybe not on your machine, but on this machine it does. I just come from, like the first machine I had we rented for $50 a month, and it was a way lighter weight machine than this. So I just, like, I didn't know what I didn't know when we started, right? We didn't have edge tapers, I didn't even know they existed. So I just kind of when I'm talking to the camera, I assume there's a dude out there that is in the position I was, or just straight can't afford it yet. Now I see guys, young dudes, starting businesses, and they've got like $60,000 laser machine and shit. And more power to them. I mean, fucking good for them.
It separates people, though.
Yeah.
Separates you.
Well, if like
whether or not you'll be long lasting, because you can go through the harder times.
True. Yeah. Resiliency. Yeah. But like when you, like I'm in some closed groups for tactical type gear sewing, and there's dudes in there, right? I see them liking comments and shit, but they don't really answer questions. They could totally do these things. There's a dude in the group that's constantly kind of shitty to dudes, like, hey, what is this? Well, if you burn it and you look at the color of the thread and you smell it and you sniff it and you stick some of that fucking smoke up your asshole and it puckers it, that'll tell you what. I'm like, why don't you just fucking answer? I know you know. That dude about science-y type shit and materials knows way more than I know, right? Because he like just loves this shit. And that same dude 20 years ago, before we had Facebook and social media, right, we had forums, and he asked all the exact same questions these kids are asking now, and we answered all of his questions. But he'll literally take 30 minutes to type out 4 paragraphs of mumbo jumbo and still not I'm like, hey, why don't you just fucking answer the question, stop being an asshole.
It reminds me,
it's the gatekeepers.
It's the gatekeepers, the same as the tattoo industry or any industry where people just don't want to help anybody else out, even though they were helped out.
Yeah, and he was helped out immensely. He was helped out to the point when I was going to prison. He's like, hey, I'm starting a gear magazine. We sent him thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear because he was going to review it and write articles. And as soon as I went to prison, he started selling all the gear. He had so much gear, in fact, Jaeger hit him up and like, how did you get all that gear? Did John set you up as a dealer? No, I sent him all that stuff to review. He never reviewed it. He sold it as soon as I went to prison. He sold it and started his company, which never really did anything. He's like a one-man shop, and his work is really dirty because he doesn't burn or clean his shit. And a lot of his stuff is super tons of layers of material and stuff. And he's got, like, some of his claims to fame is, I designed this bag in this company so-and-so, I collabed with them. No, you copied the bag, and then the company made the bag, and you said you designed it. I go, man, imagine if somebody found your, went to Wayback Machine and saw all the fucking posts and comments you made, where you're giving these kids shit, and you literally did the same thing. And every time I say that, I've said it maybe a dozen times, he never addresses me. I'm like, you don't want, because he knows if he fucking snaps back, he knows there is a videos and videos worth of history that, he would just rather not have out there. So I guess he's smart, because I love that bullshit. Like, I'll go out of business to win a fight, or even attempt. Nobody really wins, but I'll burn this shit down, fucking doing it. It's like, you don't want to fuck with me. I'm old. I got insurance now. I can run my car right into your car. What was that? Rotten green tomatoes? I think that's what that was from. Or Thelma and Louise, I don't know what it was. I don't think I've seen either of them. It's just that part. So I started in the middle because this is gonna stretch a little and I want it to be pretty even because I now have them mated together as a pair. So we're going to build a few hundred of these next week. So by the time you see this video, they will probably actually be in inventory on the website. Before you see this video on the website, my customer list will get a notification that these are available. So if you're seeing this video and you want one of these, chances are they sold out. So if you don't want that to happen again, and you are interested in having something you see made here, I have a text app. You can go to my website, soetacticalgear.com, and join the text app. Now, if you join the text app, we send a text out every day of what we made. So if you don't want to get a text every day, don't join my text app. You guys send out too many texts. Well, we didn't put your phone number in there. You put your phone number in there. So we also have an email list. And the email list we send out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And typically they change a little bit each day. They show what we finished up the day before or whatever. But a lot of times guys are like, man, I saw this on the video or whatever, live video, because I do a live video every night at 9 o'clock, and we talk current events, politics, prepping, homesteading, cars, watches, whatever you want to talk about. But I walk around the shop and show you what we're currently building, meaning the ladies left at 6:30, and at 9 o'clock you're seeing what's on the machines that's being sewn, and we'll finish the next day. So a lot of times guys buy that shit, so, or they'll see it and they're like, man, I went to get this and it's gone. Well, that's because the guys on the text app bought it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And the guys on the email list, it wasn't there by the time they got. So there's advantages to both. So there is that. That's what that looks like. Here is the shoulder strap. And what this will hold is, it will hold a 6-pack. It'll more than hold a 6-pack. Like bottled water, you can put 7 or 8 in here, and you still have depth depending on the cans or whatever. So you can put your, you know, when your mom made your peanut butter and nanner sandwich, if you're lucky, she's still making you peanut butter and nanner sandwiches. How beautiful would it be that you could just live in the basement if it was nice, right? Because it's like a bunker, and you could just walk upstairs every morning and mom had lunch ready to go.
Had a nanner sandwich.
A nanner sandwich. But most of you losers that are living in your mom's basement don't have a job, so I don't know why she would make you a fucking sandwich or why you'd need a cooler bag. There you go. Man, you have mud all over your camera. What happened to it?
Dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes. I told you I'd come out and jump for you.
I needed it.
I would have come.
By the caliber of what I was seeing.
Yeah, I can ride like Brian. I can jump like Brian. I mean, I can't do big ramps like he does, but I could do track like Brian does track. Was Brian in Crusty Demons of Dirt 1, the very first one?
I don't think so.
I don't know if he was. It was because a lot of it was filmed at the Walls in Tirasana.
Yeah, I don't think
right where I lived, yeah. Okay, so there's the bag. We're going to go in there and cut this jingly piece off. Put 550 there. Here's the one I made last night that looks just like it. And here's the sample I made a couple of years ago. Right there. Cooler bag. I just showed you how to make it. You can move the dimensions however you want. You can also build out a piece so it's sewn right here, so it's fully captive. Just figure out your price point, what you want it to do, what you don't want it to do. We use these lips like this also on our diaper bags, which people love, man. We've got a diaper bag. I think the price point on it's like $400 now. It's very feature rich, very modular, and then it's all Velcro lined, and you can move all your accoutrement, your accessory pouches and stuff around to match your needs. And when you're no longer carrying diapers, but with your diapers, while you're carrying diapers, you can also carry an MP5, which is pretty cool. Submachine gun, has a slot for a changing pad. It's real cool, but you can use it as a badass range bag. And the beauty of it is your great grandkids will still use that bag. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about this bag, and if you could use it through the week for your nanner sandwiches, mayonnaise and banana sandwiches, I'm sure one of you is like, oh, that sounds delicious. But you can also put a lot of bullets and mags and other shit inside it. So cooler bag, SOE Tactical Gear. If you're watching this and you're like, I don't need to buy none of your shit, I make my own shit. You go. I still want to be friends with you. And I got a lot of cool shirts. We do a shirt every week, 120 pieces. We very rarely rerun those shirts. And you can see those at SOE Tactical Gear. So buy a shirt, buy a bag. Don't need none of that shit. Amazon link on my website, and in every video, if you click that link to Amazon, it takes you to Amazon. You don't have to buy the thing. But what it does, and if you have a business, you should do this also, it downloads a cookie. And anything you buy from Amazon, it takes 1 to 2% and gives it to me. And we all know Amazon's evil, right? They're going to control the world and probably end your life soon. So take some money away from Bezos, who's probably not even on Earth anymore, and help us out, right? Because you just watched my video. So do at least that. And if you have a business, look into Amazon affiliate links, because if you see somebody posting a link to anything on Amazon, that's really what they're doing. Is it's downloading a cookie in your computer, and all the money you spend, it takes a percentage of that and gives it to whoever you watched, whoever's link you clicked, and it adds up. It's multiple revenue streams from different sources, and if you can get multiple revenue streams from a lot of sources, you will make a considerable amount of money for doing nothing. You guys, thanks for watching. Also, we're starting to do some classes here. We are going to eventually do some sewing seminars and different build outs. The next one we're about to do here is a chainsaw class, because we're in the middle of nowhere, right? Everybody's homesteading, everybody's prepping for the end of the world. Things are changing. You're going to probably at some point in your life be heating with wood, whether you want to or not. So we're doing a chainsaw class. It's going to be pretty cool. You can see it on the website. We just did Self-Reliance Festival 5 here. The next one is in October. That's 6. We're doing Zero to Hero radio class. Evan Dixon's putting on from Radio Made Easy on Thursday, Friday. And then Self-Reliance Festival is Saturday, Sunday. And then Joel Salatin, who is a really big deal. If you don't know who that is, check him out. Joel Salatin, Polyface Farms. He's been on Rogan a bunch of times. He's presenting at Self-Reliance Festival for us, and he's also doing a chicken processing class that Monday. So come hang out with us. We're going to do a lot of events this year. Thanks, guys.